Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Chapter 11 lecture. Today we're going to be talking about relationships. Specifically, we're going to talk about friendships and romantic relationships. Now, I guess that many of you have experienced romantic relationships, but not necessarily everybody. But I think we can all say in the history of our lives, we've had someone that we considered a friend. So we're going to start by talking about friendship, and then we'll talk about romantic relationships. And we're going to see that some of the things that we enjoy about one type of relationship, we also enjoy about the other. So we're going to begin by talking about friends. These are people that we choose to be in relationships with most of the time. These are relationships of choice, meaning that we see some quality in that person that makes that person appealing, whether it be their personality or whether it be that they have a history with you and you've known that person for so long that connection over years and years makes them a good person to have in your life. So friendship-based intimacy is intimacy that's based on feelings of warmth, of understanding, and of emotional connection. So friendships, by definition, according to your book, is a relationship of choice that exists for over time, maybe for a specific amount of time or for even a lifetime, between people who share a common history. Now, there's lots of different qualities that relationships include, and this is including self-disclosure. So in order for relationships to become even more important in our lives, we have to tell other people about ourselves. And self-disclosure is the information that we tell someone that they cannot already figure out for themselves. So the fact that I'm wearing red glasses isn't really self-disclosure because you can look at my face and see that I'm wearing red glasses. So while this is like something maybe to note about a person, this isn't self-disclosure because it is something that can be observed. So self-disclosure is something that you tell people that they wouldn't know if you didn't tell them. And this can be really basic stuff, such as your hometown, or maybe your favorite video game or sport, or maybe your favorite genre of music. All of these are examples of things that you tell someone that they might not know about you. That's self-disclosure. But then as our relationship progresses, usually we begin to self-disclose things that are a little bit deeper in the layers of our onion, if you remember us talking about that. These things are more personal in nature, and they include or need trust in that relationship in order to be able to comfortably tell someone about that. That's self-disclosure. Usually it goes from very gradual, very unimportant information to more important information as that relationship progresses. Authenticity. Being authentic. It's being yourself. Now, we talked about the multiple selves idea in chapter 2 of our textbook. And that said that, we play roles depending on who we're with and the expectations that people have of us in that environment. And while that is true, when we're in a friendship with a friend, we are playing the role of a friend. But there's also the desire for that person to see you as a unique individual, if you'll remember that phrase, unique individual, and see you for who you are. So authenticity says that we require someone to be their self while also asking that we are allowed to be part of who we are ourselves with that person. Compatibility, getting along, respect for someone else's person, for someone else's identity, for someone else's opinions or attitudes or beliefs or behaviors. Helping is an important quality of friendship. Being there to help out, whether it be just to lend a listening ear, to help move, to really get angry if that person's angry, that behavior that supports and can help Trust is obviously an important part of a relationship. And this is the feelings of being accepted and confirmed and being held in such high regard that that individual sees you and knows you and will keep that stuff to themselves if it's something that you don't want other people to know. Trust is something that's takes a long time to develop and a short time to lose, so it's a very valuable part of relationships. And then concern, empathy. Those are the qualities of relationships, especially friendships. So we have many benefits from being with others in friendship. One is that it helps us to cope with stress. If you remember, I think it was back in chapter 1, we talked about how interpersonal relationships are a powerful stress-busting tool because they help us put things in perspective, allow us to vent, give us support, be there emotionally or physically. So friendships can help to reduce, counteract, and balance some stressful events in our lives. Also to form parts of our personality. So the input that other people have into our lives, remember the looking glass self? We watch other people and they see us and they reflect attitudes back to us, and that helps us know something about ourselves. Those reflections back to us is forming parts of our personality. It could be our attitudes about ourselves or others, our beliefs about ourselves or others or the world that we live in. That's all developed partly through friendships. And also, it helps us to manage life, provides encouragement, brings variety. I don't know about you, but friends that I can think of, they're all different. And we do different things together, and we might enjoy different types of things when we do them. So there's lots of different variety that can come. Also, encouragement and the building of our self-worth. If someone chooses to be our friend, and is a supportive, caring, kind person, that it's also edifying us, meaning that we're valuable enough in the mind of that person to be in a relationship with us. And that confirms and helps support our sense of self. So some interesting friendship facts. People typically have up to 5 close friends. Some of you might be like, 5? I can't even think of one. Usually it's somewhere between 1 and 5 people that we would consider close friends. 15 other friends on average. So these are people that we would say, these are our friends. Maybe not close friends, but people we do things with and see partially regularly at least. And then 20 other people that are part of your social network, meaning that you might see them a couple times, 3 times, 4 times a year. They're a part of your network. They're just not necessarily what you would call a really good friend. You might call that person an acquaintance. Another interesting friend fact is of all social interactions, we are happiest when we're with our friends. So studies have been done, and I'll show you a study toward the end of the lecture that talks about this, but we are more happy with our friends than we are in any other type of relationship because of all of the benefits that we gain from them. And lastly, we tend to expect both equality and equity. So we want to get what we put into the relationship, both emotionally, both materially. We want it to have some balance, because I don't know about you, but if you've ever been in a relationship that's imbalanced, one person is doing more taking and one person is doing more giving, it's an unfun relationship to be in, because the person who's taking is getting more satisfaction maybe than the person who's giving. And so a genuine friendship is going to be one that has a balance. Now that means that there might be some time in like the relationship where one person needs more, but it's not the entire relationship. That person needs more at this point. And then after that issue or experience resolves, maybe it can go kind of be equal again until someone else needs really to pull on that relationship. So it doesn't have to be necessarily equal all the time, but there's some equality and equity that we gain through those relationships. So, Interestingly enough, I hear a lot of people ask this question. How can I make friends? Like, I've had friends that I've had for a long time, but there's not really anyone who I would say is a new friend. And now I'm in a new school, but I really don't know how to make new friends. And so your book talks about how to create or initiate some friendships. And here are some things to think about. Number one, look for someone with similarities to you, similar attitudes, similar likes, similar hobbies. Now, it's fun to think that we might find relationship with someone who's really different than us, and that can be okay for a while, but the things that create longevity in relationships aren't the things that make us different. It's the things that we share in common. So when we're looking for people around us, maybe you're sitting in class and you're thinking, I wonder if that person might be an interesting friend. Think about the things you have in common. And if they are important things. Now, you might not have an important conversation, but you might listen to how someone else is talking and gain some insights about what they think is important and see if it aligns with you. Number two, expect that other people will like you. Now, for some of us, it's like, duh. And for some of us, it's like, what? This means that we need to have the expectation that we are good enough to have as a friend. Now, some of you might say, of course, I know I'm good enough to have as a friend. People are lucky to have me as a friend. And some of you, that hit home, meaning that we have to be reminded that we are valuable, important people that have something to share with others in relationship. And we can expect others to value that. And if we are in a friendship, or if we're looking for a friend and we find someone and we're trying to be friends with that person, but that person doesn't communicate value, like we're important, that we're valuable to that relationship, move on, because it's not worth your time. Number three, reciprocate during self-disclosure. Now, I mentioned a few minutes ago, self-disclosure is telling someone else something about you that they wouldn't know otherwise. So when someone tells you something, even if it's surface level, reciprocate. Tell them something of equal depth back. For example, if I tell you my hometown, you can tell me your hometown. Excuse me. If I tell you my job or my major, you can tell me your job or your major. And it can go back and forth. Reciprocate. Expect to listen to what the other person has to say, but expect that you are going to be listened to when you're telling them about you. Number four, look for opportunities to spend time together. So suggest, hey, I know you like that music and this band is playing at this place. Do you want to go? So you're looking for opportunities to spend time together and do things together. And then number five, tell excuse me, tell that friend that you have time to spend together. So by telling someone that you have free time, even if it's just a little bit, it opens the door to friendship. But if someone hears that you have no time, that you are overworked, that you have 3 jobs and go to school and don't have any time for anyone else, they're probably not going to find encouragement to reach out to you. So you tell them that you have time, and hopefully they'll be able to reciprocate. Now, it doesn't have to be a lot of time, but maybe there's some time that you can carve out to spend together, and communicate that you're willing to find that time. So now that we've talked about friendships and friendship-based intimacy, the next thing I want to talk about is passion. This is a different type of relationship that we have. Passion-based intimacy is based on romantic and sexual feelings. So these are romantic relationships. These are relationships that we pursue in a different realm than friendships. Obviously, we have different relationships with friends than we do with romantic partners. Now, a lot of the qualities that we have in friends, we hope to have with a relationship partner as well, but there's a little bit extra that goes into those romantic, passion-based intimacy relationships. So we're going to talk about the 3 qualities of romantic relationships. The first quality is love. Love, I love this quote. Your book has it. The extent to which the outcomes suffered or enjoyed by each is suffered or enjoyed by both. So it's saying that we have such a connection with someone else that their victories feel like our victories, and their hard times feel like our hard times. It's not just, I see you have a victory over there, yay you. It's the empathy. It's we share a connection that's so deep that your struggles are my struggles, and your accomplishments are rewarding to me too. To see you succeed is so rewarding to me. So love is something we can have in friendships, but it's a different type of love. So let's look at those different types of love. So the triangular theory of love is by a man named Robert Sternberg, and he said that love has actually three main qualities. Those are intimacy, commitment, and passion. So there are three main types of connection or love that is experienced according to Sternberg. Intimacy is closeness, connection, liking. Commitment is loyalty, the stick-to-itiveness in a relationship, the I'm here for you, you're here for me, and we are in this together type of feeling. And then passion, longing, desire. So relationships can be made up of all three equally, and if that's the case, it's called consummate love. And consummate love is intimacy and passion and commitment. But not all relationships share all three qualities of love equally. So a relationship that has intimacy and commitment, but not a lot of passion, is called companionate love. So I like to think about this relationship as the little old married couple relationship, if you know what I mean. So these people know each other, they're close, they're intimate, they're committed, but there isn't a lot of longing, desire, passion involved in that. And that is, I like to think of them as the little old married couple, great companions, committed to the relationship. Then there's a relationship that's high in commitment and high in passion, but not so high in intimacy. This is called fatuous love. And if that word rings a bell to you, it's probably because of the word infatuated. So this is someone who makes a commitment because they are highly passionate about the relationship, but they don't necessarily know that person all that well. They don't have that closeness, that self-disclosure that brings about intimacy. So I like to think about this as the head over heels love. This is the love, it's like you fall head over heels for someone. You commit to that person without knowing that person all that long. Maybe someone you know, or maybe you have gotten married very quickly after meeting someone. That could be an example of fatuous love. And then a relationship that's high in intimacy and high in passion, but low in commitment, is called romantic love. The one that always comes to mind when I talk about romantic love, so there's liking, there's closeness, they know each other, there's intimacy, there's passion, desire, longing, but they're not committed to being a part of that relationship. So I think of those as friends with benefits, if you've ever heard that. So these people are friends that hook up, and they do that to satisfy a physical need, but with the understanding that they're not necessarily in a committed relationship. So this is the triangle of love. It says that there's three primary components to love: intimacy, commitment, and passion. And then based on which three components are playing the greatest influence, we can have different types of love: companionate love, fatuous love, romantic love, or a balance of all three as consummate love. So when we talk about love, genuinely speaking, there are 6 basic types of love. And if you've taken a sociology class or even like a psychology class, it's probably gone over these different types of love: eros, ludus, storge, mania, pragma, and agape. So eros is romantic love. It's passionate love. It's sexual love. If you've heard erotic, that comes from the idea of eros. This is a very a love that is pursuing pleasure. So that's erotic or eros. A lot of romantic relationships have eros type of love. Ludus. Ludus is the game playing love. And I have to tell you something funny that my husband and I are doing right now that exemplifies ludus. So Jason, my husband, found an empty toilet paper roll. And you know how toilet paper is like a commodity right now. Everyone wants some and can't find it enough. And he had an empty toilet paper roll. And he hid it from me. And he hid it in something. It was under my pillowcase. And I like put my head on my pillow and I find this weird thing. I'm like, it's a toilet paper roll. And he's laughing because he hid it for me to find. Well, now we've been playing this game of let's hide the toilet paper roll so the other person finds it in weird places. I hid his car key in the toilet paper roll. He put the toilet paper roll in my tennis shoes that I use to work out. So when I put my foot in my shoe, I couldn't get in the shoe because there was a toilet paper roll. And every time we find it, we just bust out laughing because it's so hilarious. The random things that we do that we find these toilet paper rolls. So that's ludus. That's the silliness. It's the game playing. It's the lighthearted type of love. Storge is a friendship type of love. So if you were to say you love a friend or a family member, you're probably referring to storge. It's a solid love based on trust and caring. So this is the type of love that we share, hopefully, with anyone that we think we love. And a lot of friends and family fall into this category. Mania is the possessive type of love, the maniac type of love. So this is obsessive love, driven on need. I need that person. This person will only be the only person that satisfies me. I can't stop thinking about that person. I'm longing for that person. I really, really, really want to see that person. The overtop infatuation that we feel and think when we're thinking about that other, that is mania. Pragma is the practical type of love. This diagram says shopping list love. So several years ago, I was working on a costume for my son who was in a play at school. And he was a sheep, and I was like gluing these pom-poms onto the shirt, and I was almost done, and I ran out of hot glue, and I needed the hot glue to finish the shirt because it was due like 2 days in the future. And I said, okay, after work, I'm going to run and get hot glue. Well, work got busy and I just forgot. And so I get home, I walk in and I'm like, oh man, I forgot the hot glue. And Jason had picked up hot glue because he knew I was going to have a busy day and he knew that I was probably going to forget. So he went out of his way and got that for me. I'm like, oh man, that's so sweet. You fulfilled for me a practical need. So that's pragma. And lastly is agape. Agape is selfless love. It is giving of yourself on someone else's behalf. In my life, the place that I've experienced agape love the most of giving of myself is through being a parent. So you do things you might not have ever thought you would want to do, and you do things that you don't want to do because it's in the best interest or the desire of the son or daughter. And so you give up you for someone else in certain times and in certain places. So that is agape love, giving of yourself to someone else. So there are 3 qualities of romantic relationships, and we've covered the first one, which is love. The second that we're going to talk about is commitment. And commitment is our intention to remain in a relationship. And there's several factors that influence commitment in a romantic relationship. So this includes support and encouragement. In relationships where we feel supported and we feel encouraged, we're more likely to stay committed. So In the relationships with you that other people feel supported and encouraged, they're more likely to commit to that relationship with you. So you see how it goes both ways. You can't always be getting, you also have to be giving these factors. Reassurance of someone's feelings. So to reassure that you still have feelings of commitment, of love, of enjoyment. It's all of the different things that you love about that other person that you could tell them so that they know that they are valued in that relationship. Offering tangible reminders. Some people are very gift driven. Maybe it be getting some flowers or picking up the newest video game that just came out that your relationship partner would really like, or fixing that person's favorite dinner, or doing something that's tangible that they can point to and say, yeah, my partner was thinking of me. Creating a relationship future. So talking about things in the future that you would like to do, the plans that you have for the future. My husband and I were just talking about this yesterday, and he was saying, I really wish that when we retire, we would have a place that we could have a few horses and a few goats. So that's talking about the future. When relationships think and plan for the future, then the idea about that relationship being around in the future is greater. Behaving with integrity. So this means that you are being honest. You are being trustworthy. You are acting in ways that support and honor that relationship rather than in the background tear it down. This means that we maybe don't have relationships with people that threaten the relationship we have with that other person. We choose that relationship over others because it's important to us. Integrity. And then we work on the relationship. This means we're talking about it. We're talking about the relationship. We're talking about the problems. We're reestablishing trust when it's important. We're managing conflict. So we're not just dodging all the hard stuff in favor of the good stuff, but we also maintain the relationship through working on it. So we've talked about love, we've talked about commitment, and the third quality of romantic relationships is physical affection and or sex. Your book says the use of touch to convey emotional feelings of love and caring for another person is physical affection. There's an interesting connection between affection and commitment. So there was a study done that found that when we are committed, the stronger our feelings of commitment, the more affection we will show that person. And affection can be a pat on the back, linking arms, a hug, kissing, all the way to sexual contact. So any of that could be considered more affection. And the more affection we have, the greater our satisfaction in that relationship. And the greater the satisfaction, guess what? The stronger the commitment. So we find that there is a circular relationship here. So when someone might say something like, I don't have enough physical affection in the relationship, maybe there's something I can do if I'm saying that to help increase this affection by building and communicating stronger commitment. If I do that, maybe the affection will increase. If the affection will increase, both of us are going to be satisfied in greater quantities or a greater quality of that relationship and reinforce that commitment. It's an interesting connection between commitment, affection, and satisfaction. So how do we maintain or initiate romantic relationships? Or any relationship, really. It doesn't even have to be romantic. A lot of these steps can be just friendships as well. So number one, watch and act on approachability cues. So an approachability cue is something that tells someone else that they're open to talking, to meeting someone new, to engaging in conversation. So an approachability cue could be like eye contact. If someone's looking up or looking around the room in a social situation, they might be more willing to engage in conversation. Smiling, an open body position rather than have our arms crossed and kind of hunched over. And like saying hello. That's a great way to say, hey, I'm willing to talk because I said hello. So we need to watch the approachability cues of others. However, we also need to think about our own approachability cues. Over the years, I've had many students who have said, people will tell me I always look mad or I always look uninterested because maybe their nonverbals are communicating something like this. Now, they might not feel grumpy or upset or closed body position, but that's what's being communicated. And no one is going to want to approach someone who looks like that. They look unfriendly, they look disinterested. And so we need to think about our own approachability cues so that we're welcoming other people to come and start conversations with us. So observe and act on approachability cues. Number 2, identify conversation starters. Small talk. Not my favorite. I am not I don't have a huge strength at carrying conversation by myself. So if I am talking to someone who can't keep the ball rolling, it's hard for me to keep the ball rolling. If you're like that too, I hear that often from students and just people in general. So here are some things to remember. There are conversational rituals that we typically follow. Hi, how are you? Good, how are you? How's your day? Oh, it's fine. How's your day? Going just fine. Did you see it's such a nice day outside today? The sun is out. I know. I heard it's supposed to be nice all week. Oh, good. I'm planning on... Do you see what I mean? There are rituals that we follow in conversation and rely on those rituals initially to help guide that conversation and start it out. Don't rely on it totally, but you can begin there, I guess you can say. Also look for free information. They're right here. Free information. And this is stuff that can help to... get the ball rolling. So maybe you see that that person is holding a book and you ask them about the book and they tell you about the book. And then you ask them if that's what kind of genre of book is that? And then they tell you, and are there any authors that you particularly enjoy? And then you're off. If books are not your thing, maybe they're wearing a sports hat or shirt. Oh, I see that you're wearing a Cowboys hat. Are you a Cowboys fan? How long have you been a fan? Have you ever gone to one of the games? What do you think about the new, the coach that was fired? Do you think that the NFL will be playing games this season? I mean, you can just keep on going on and going on. When I go to the gym, when I used to, before this stuff, the trainer loved talking about college football. And the more he talked about college football, the more like little breathers we had in between the sets we were working on. So you bet I would plan on asking him questions about college football. Hi, Steve. So that he would let us breathe for a minute before we started again. And I knew that was something that was interesting to him. And my husband loves it too. So I would ask my husband and I would say what the trainer had said. And I learned about college football a little bit more as I was creating those conversation starters. So look for that free information and then follow the norms of interactions. Like I said, the conversational rituals and the self-disclosure rules. What we don't want is to try to start a relationship and in the first 10 minutes of conversation, you tell your deepest, darkest secrets. Like your self-disclosure went from like surface level to the heart of who you are in 5 minutes. That does happen sometimes, but that isn't necessarily it's definitely not a good thing. And so we want to move gradually from less personal to more personal information. So look at how those rules that your textbook outlines can be followed. Ask questions. That's always great to ply and ask questions. If it seems like it's becoming so imbalanced that the other person isn't asking you questions back, you can volunteer some information. Oh, you said you like this. Did you know that I also, to help insert some of that? Because again, we're not all skilled at this initiating and this maintaining of conversation. And so sometimes we have to do a little bit of interjecting if someone isn't responding by asking questions as well. Number 5, employ affinity-seeking strategies. Now, these are really interesting strategies that your book talks about, and these are things that help people like us more. And your book lists a bunch of them, and I just listed a few of them. Visibility is your behavior. So the way you dress, the way you act, your mannerisms, your nonverbal messages. If you seem put together, if you seem clean and tidy and well groomed, if you look animated and enthusiastic, that is going to be more attractive to someone than if you're smelly or if you are flat, no effect, no emotion, just very It's harder for someone to engage in conversation that way. Politeness, please and thank you, just the kind of respect that we would like someone to portray or show us, we also want to show to others. Concern, caring, empathy, and then other involvement. The things that we do for other people can be attractive to others. If we volunteer or if we're considerate of others, if we are involved in others' lives, that helps for new people to think that we are good people to have in relationship. Listen and respond, provide comfort, and manage conflict. All of these are things that we've talked about already this semester. Empathy, conflict management, listening, responding. All of these are qualities that help us to maintain relationships, but also help us to initiate relationships. So I hope you've learned information about friendships and romantic relationships through this lecture. There's only one more lecture left of the semester, and we're going to do that next week over chapter 12 that talks about family relationships and workplace relationships. Check your course calendar. There's stuff coming due this week, so make sure that you are working on your final paper project. If you're doing the group project, putting the finishing touches on that, and looking towards studying for the final exam. If you have any questions, make sure to send me a message on Blackboard. If not, we'll talk to you next week. Take care, guys. Bye.